At Silver Stream, we wanted to explore a different way to do Genius Hour, or passion projects. In the grade 6 classroom, we changed the name to Genius Space. The name Genius Hour seemed to imply that genius only happens for an hour a week, maybe on Friday afternoons. The word space speaks more to integrating creativity and inquiry throughout our week.
Our overarching student learning outcomes are critical thinking and problem solving. We scaffolded the process with a gradual release model to identify a meaningful topic or problem or project, framing and measuring specific criteria, critically analyzing information, and making informed decisions and taking action.
We wanted to address the challenge of designing educational experiences that address local issues and real-world problems for which there may be no clear answer. We also wanted to get to know our students more and support them in finding their passions and what they are curious about.
Our students need to be challenged, but also guided in the process. For example, gradually releasing the student inquiry process by using a combination of the controlled inquiry to a free inquiry. This approach essentially puts more focus on the process instead of the product and engages students by encouraging risk-taking.
Two different approaches were used for the passion projects. The first approach, Genius Space, flips the model of having students first identify their interests. For example, instead of coming up with a project based on their passion, they first just identify a project. Through the process, they discover something that they are passionate about. They were given 5 different Genius Space project categories: create, to design something original; curate, to gather selections of work for an exhibit; writing with purpose, to research and write on a topic of interest; perform, planning and carrying out a performance designed to entertain, educate, or persuade; and imagine differently, developing an imaginative innovation to a new or old problem. Students also needed to create specific criteria for their Genius Space projects and measure their progress throughout the process. How to create this criteria was scaffolded to support students in designing a project that would lead them to also identifying something they are passionate about more clearly. Students used thought books to explore their defined idea, recording ongoing thinking, reflection, and investigation. Students were asked to record as both visuals and text. Using blank paper books provided a diverse and flexible format that allowed for richer critical and creative thinking. Mistakes and changes were not only accepted, but encouraged.
The second approach to the Genius Project was students identifying their passion through the impact triangle, which consisted of passion, purpose, and action, which results in impact. Passion, something you want to do and want to do anything to achieve it. Better at your passion than other areas. You enjoy it a lot, feeling for doing something. Purpose was identified as why something is done. The point of something, not an accident, reason of why you are doing something. Action was something you do, a movement, a choice you make, something you do to achieve a certain result. And impact, the result of an action, the effect of something that causes a change. Once students identified their passion, they had to develop an action plan. The action plan consisted of primary source, which mainly consisted of interviewing a professional, surveys, and a personal experience. The secondary research consisted of researching information from various sources. This student's passion project was on accessibility. As his primary research, he rented a wheelchair for the day.
And overall, what did you learn about being in a wheelchair?
That it has many challenges, but the challenges can be overcome, and it's not entirely impossible to be in a wheelchair.
And what are some challenges you face?
Sometimes getting out of tight spaces was hard. Reaching for things was hard, and that's mostly all.
Throughout the process, the ways we measured student learning included observations, conversations, products, rubrics that weigh process more heavily than the product, checklists, and student progress logs, reflections of what they learned throughout their process.
The ways we measured our learning include reflecting on practice, what went well, what didn't work, Past projects, how did this differ from similar previous projects? And student reflections, get feedback from the students, how engaged were the students throughout the process, what would they want to do differently? Some barriers that we experienced through the process were time, planning time for teachers and time to work on the projects for students. Students having difficulty in finding a mentor to consult with through the process of the Genius Hour project. Some students encountered difficulty in collecting primary data, so for example, surveys, interviewing a professional. Students' ability to managing their time through the process, example, meeting deadlines, and selection of topic that is meaningful and or creates impact.
In terms of professional learning, throughout the past several months, we've gone to various different workshops, including a key one for the Genius Space project at the Reading for the Love of It conference by Garfield Jeannie Newman, collaborating with other resource teachers within the school, for example, using spaces such as the library, and partnering with the teacher librarian to implement and monitor student progress. And for technology, throughout this project, we gained additional access to student Chromebooks, which was essential.
Our next steps. The next steps in our journey are as follows: completing assessment, determining presentation times, and student self-reflections.